So once you're finished with the training, you'll be able to understand the structure and functions of ReAccess, understand how to gather requirements using the LAD canvas, create a functioning ReAccess application using the app builder, understand and create forms in ReAccess using the app builder, understand and create drop-down lists, understand and manage form controls, which are our fields, set up search configuration for the ReAccess application, and save and publish a ReAccess application. We'll also create a ReAccess application using the ReAccess prefab manifest and understand how to sell through GSA. And I will hand it over to Michael now to give our overview and demonstration.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to cover this first portion, Intact and ReAccess overview. I want to point out that we have corresponding pages in the training manual that were sent out that you can refer to. There's more content in there that goes a little more in depth than what we're going to cover. So get started. So about Intact. Intact is a Microsoft Gold partner and cloud solution provider. We deliver scalable and secure solutions through the ReAccess application. The ReAccess application is an Office 365 Azure Cloud compatible solution. It enables the recreation of existing database applications in a cloud environment. The App Builder is an easy-to-use, no-code platform for creating ReAccess applications. Live Application Design Development, or LAD, is a framework used for collecting business requirements and processes at a high level. These requirements are then translated in more detail onto the ReAccess prefab manifest. The ReAccess prefab manifest is a template that is used to define all of the components in a ReAccess application. The manifest is then imported into the App Builder, which generates a functioning application. Powerline is the middleware that handles all aspects of the application, including security, connectivity, storage, and provisioning. Intact is committed to supporting our partner network and is focused on the tools and training for partners to be successful with reusing and reselling ReAccess solutions. So for security and logins, Azure Active Directory is pre-built into all ReAccess applications. There are 4 levels of security, and they are viewer, user, builder, and administrator. Security access is granted through an approval process by an authorized person in your organization. The process requires the user's name, email address, and one of the 4 user levels. So this is a diagram showing the bridging the gap between more sophisticated developers and common users of applications. And how Powerline and ReAccess bridge that gap. Again, here's another diagram showing the ReAccess decoder, which is used to recreate an existing application and import it into the App Builder, where a Cosmos database is created using Azure App Functions, which connects to common Microsoft applications. So these are the different methods for creating a ReAccess application. Again, we can recreate an existing application using the Intact decoder. Otherwise, we can use the LAD process to gather requirements and build out a prefab manifest, which is loaded into the App Builder to generate the ReAccess application. From there, data can be extracted and imported to continue where business left off. So with that, I am going to demo an application that we currently have in production. It's for the Franklin County Building Department. These are the different forms. We've got a contractor, permit, payment, and inspection. I'm gonna go to the permit form. Once you select a form, the search screen is enabled. This is where you go to search for any records. A new record can be added, data can be imported. So we are going to search for search. So this is an example of a permit record. We have the ability to print to a Microsoft Word document. So ReAccess integrates with Power BI. This is where all of the permit records are. So we can conduct a search on any permit record. We can step in. There's all the information related to the permit, and then any information related to the inspection report, which this one has not received an inspection yet.
And the data store for all that is in the ReAccess information service, or in the original Access database? Where is that data?
This data is all stored in our Cosmos DB, which is in the this particular one's in the government cloud because it's a government entity. So it's all stored in Azure.
And this is the section that Danny had previously mentioned about downloading and installing ReAccess. So you go to the store. Once you have your security credentials assigned by the authorized person in your organization, you'll be able to log in. Upon logging in, you can adjust settings and delete local data. Navigating, so as I mentioned in the previous demonstration, this is the form. You can navigate to the home screen, which is this right here. And as you save and enter data or make updates in the app builder and navigate back to ReAccess, you'll notice that it is syncing up. And this is the first hands-on activity for signing in.
So we'll go ahead and give everybody a couple minutes to log in using those credentials that I sent out. And if you run into any issues, please let us know. We're going to go ahead and move on to our LAD facilitation process. So LAD stands for Live Application Design Development, and it's a process that's used for gathering requirements through a high-level discussion of business operations. The requirements are documented on our LAD canvas, which we'll go to right there. From this information, the prefab manifest that we mentioned earlier can then be populated and then imported into the app builder in order to build those applications. So we are going to, each of you should have received a blank copy of this LAD canvas. It is a PowerPoint that you can go ahead and type into. And what we want to do next for our next hands-on activity is each application has forms, which are basically your tables for collecting data. You've got your drop-down list, which we have two different options for a drop-down list. We have what's known as a static or custom drop-down list. And that is, say, for a good example of that is a list of the US states. Obviously, those aren't going to change, if ever, definitely not very often. So that's a list that you would want to have just static. You can build that out in your application, and if changes ever need to be made to it, you can go into the app builder and make those changes, but more than likely, you're probably not going to need to make very many changes to those lists. The dynamic lists, or also what we call the form drop-down lists, are actually what create the relationships between your forms. So for our t-shirt company application, we have already created an inventory form for you. Throughout the hands-on activities, once we start moving into the app builder, we are going to have you build a sales form. One of the drop-down lists that we're going to have, we have two drop-down lists already, custom ones in the inventory form that are for warehouse location and quantity. We are going to have you actually create a product ID form DDL, which is going to then have a relationship to the inventory form. So the items in your sales form are going to be tied to your inventory records based on that product ID. And so any inventory that's added will have a product ID assigned to it. And then those product IDs will then populate the product ID drop-down list in your sales form. And again, I realize this probably all sounds very confusing because we haven't gotten in there yet, but just to give you an overview. One of the relationships for this particular application, like I just mentioned, is the relationship between the sales and inventory. And some of the tabs that we'll be using are the inventory tab has an inventory information tab, and the sales form has a sales information tab. And so as we'll give you a few minutes to kind of, if there's more information that you think may be helpful or necessary for your sales form, if you think there's an additional drop-down list that you can think of, or an additional relationship or a tab, feel free to go ahead and put that information into your LAD canvas, and we'll give you about 5 minutes to do so. And then you'll just kind of hold on to that so that as we go through these steps of creating your application, you can refer back to that information as well.
So are these drop-down lists meant to be more related to forms, or are they meant to be more granular at the field level, or is it a combination of the above?
So with regards to, say, for example, a state being a field, just a simple text field, that is definitely an option. The drop-down lists are more so for data validation, to make sure that there are no, typos, spaces, anything like that, so that when you're using, for instance, this information in Power BI, you're pulling in live accurate data versus, someone might have mistyped the word Florida. And so if you're doing a search for items in Florida, it's not going to return those because it was spelled incorrect.